Way to save the season to throw. Fire down! Incomplete down at the goal line by San Diego. Tomlinson off the left side. Tomlinson sidestep. Hello, history books. I think they have to now. Here's Sproles. Sproles inside the 10, inside the 5, and the Chargers win the game.
What's up, good people? Welcome to another edition of the Lightning Round podcast. Last night, after hours, you caught us live. Today, we're live for the TLR Roundtable. Craig here, Garrett here, Jamie under the weather. Couldn't make it today, but Craig and I will hold it down here just like we did last week. We got our Twitter questions, got our Discord questions. We got some bad tweets. And everybody in the chat that's joined us here live, thank you. And also make sure to get in your questions, and we'll get to those as we go through this as well. So, Craig, welcome.
What's up, people? Did I freeze for a second? I didn't see anything moving or hear anything. Like, whoa, what happened? No, what's up, everybody? Thanks for coming in. We will hold down the fort for Jamie, and let's have another good time.
Yeah. All right. So, I will go ahead and share the Twitter questions for Jamie. We'll have Craig do the Discord, and then we'll get into these bad tweets. So let's go ahead and get us started here. I'm gonna pull it up. Twitter question number 1. Zoom in here from Austin McWalter, which is at Austin McWalter. Do you guys think there will be any changes to the offensive line? Moving Salyer to right tackle, maybe give Bailey a go at guard, McFadden at center. They have to do something, right? This is horrific. Knowing the Chargers, they will do F all. The definition of insanity. What would you guys do? Thanks.
Do they have to do something?
Yeah.
I mean, I would suggest that they do, but they technically don't have to. And, the Chargers with continuity, especially on the offensive line, they typically don't want to have any guys move around unless absolutely necessary. I would really, really like to give maybe McFadden an opportunity to play some center. I'd like to see it. I don't imagine it can be very much worse than Will Clapp. But it's nice to see him on the field even when they're running those jumbo sets. Pardon me. And lining him up at fullback. It's just great to have that sort of size in the backfield to, well, not going to say it's helped with the running game tremendously, but when they've thrown him in there, it looks great. And I think there's an opportunity to grow from there. What I would do is kind of what I mentioned. I'd like to see him play a little center, at least make it a competition, have those guys go at it in practice. And if you want to give him some reps there, I'm not saying alternate centers during games. It's not a great idea. But again, I think it would be hard pressed for him to underperform. I know some people out there don't necessarily see Will Clapp as having done so, but there's a real reason why the running game hasn't gotten going since Lindsley's been out. And I think that McFadden would provide an opportunity to be more of a force in the middle. So I'd be all about him playing some center, but I don't necessarily think the Chargers will do it.
Yeah, they're not making a move. They had a chance at the trade deadline if they're going to do anything, or even at the bye, and both have passed us by, and there is no wholesale change on the offensive line. Also, they are definitely not moving Salyer to right tackle or even putting Zach Bailey at guard. I think both of those don't really make sense in my mind. I don't think you give up on Salyer that early. And what do you do? You're benching Trey Pipkins at that point. I don't think that makes sense. And also, I'm giving McFadden a shot at guard before I'm giving Zach Bailey a shot at guard. So I don't think it would make sense to make those kind of wholesale changes where you're moving multiple linemen around. The McFadden at center talk, I kind of floated the idea after he was drafted. I'd love to see him get some snaps there, but that's not happening either. They're not going to make a move. If they're going to, they're going to sign some kind of veteran center. I was hoping that they would sign a veteran center, but I don't know if this is good news that they're going to maybe there's a chance Lindsley comes back, that they're not signing another center. I'm not sure, but I was floating the idea of Austin Blythe coming in and being some veteran help. Older dude, I think he's 31, play some guard and center, but that's not happening either. So really at this point, it's just they're rolling with what they have. I'd love to see McFadden at center at some point, but right now they're too far in the season unless an injury happens or the wheels fall off. It's going to be Will Clapp for if and hopefully sometime soon Corey Lindsley comes back.
Yeah, that's more of one of those bye week type of deals. You give an opportunity for guys to kind of get their feet wet, allow them the opportunity to meld a little bit more. But yeah, when you're talking about a season where you're now back, you fought your way back to 500, you might not want to rock the boat too much right now.
So Ivan wants to ask you, because I know this is directed at you, because you're talking about them moving those goalposts. Who wins the battle of goalpost moving, ESPN or NFL Network? Just a little backstory, a little context. Herbert getting trashed for his day on Monday night. No real mention about Chargers defense, just how bad the Jets are. Not that any of that matters, but it feels like Herbert never gets his due. So who do you think is moving the goalpost the most?
I mean, you also left FS1 out of there,
Okay.
but no big deal. As a matter of fact, today, I think they're all pretty much neck and neck. It's been really bad all day long today. Worse than normal, actually. I work from home remotely, so I can get my work done. And I just have stuff playing in the background. Of course, being a football nut, I just kind of have it on all the day long. I even hear repeats of things. Just kind of is what it is. Sometimes it's just background noise. But it's been especially ridiculous today. And the reason why I mentioned FS1 is because one particular show didn't even talk about the game. They talked about Aaron Rodgers pregame and then didn't even talk about the game at all.
Boy, that's rough for a guy who didn't even play. All right. Next question. Thanks for the question, Ivan. Next one here is from Alex_Bolt_up. Is there a universe where Joey Bosa gets more sacks than Nick Bosa on the season? Craig, I know we're springing this question on you. I had to look it up. Nick Bosa has 3 sacks on the year. Joey Bosa has 6.5 sacks in the year. So the question really comes, can Joey fend off Nick Bosa enough to finish atop the Bosa sack counter?
If you asked me this question a little over a week ago, I'd say potentially. But there was a very big move that the 49ers made that will probably free up Nick Bosa a ton for the remainder of the season. Now, of course, his groin could fall off, and then Nick, can't compete anymore. And I'm not saying that happens. I don't know. They always have groin issues. It's both of them. It's like, I don't know. It's a genetic thing.
Yeah.
Let me not talk about the Bosas. We know who they're connected to. Hey guys, I apologize. I'm fans of you both. No disrespect. But all things being fair, if Joey can stay healthy, it'll be competitive. But I think I'm going to say right now he's only down 3, right? You said Nick has 3, Joey has 6.
Yeah, so 3.5.
I think Nick finishes. I don't think Joey's going to be able to keep up. Again, it all depends on whether or not he can stay healthy, and I don't also anticipate that D-line is going to play like they played last night every week, whereas the 49ers pretty much show up every week, essentially the same way. So, I wish it would happen, but I wouldn't put any money down on it.
Yeah, see, I feel like it's going to be, if you would ask me earlier, like, especially like preseason, I would have said absolutely not in this current universe, maybe some Bizarro World universe, but not this one. But right now, being up 6.5, Nick being 3, so you got a 3.5 sack lead. Adding Chase Young is going to free up Nick Bosa for sure. Also adding Randy Gregory helps that too.
Forgot about Gregory.
But does that mean we're going to see a lot more of a kind of a rotation in San Francisco? That would be my only argument, but also I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're just going to put all their playmakers on the field because Shanahan's a smart coach, and that's what smart coaches do. So I think it's going to be really, really close. And this is a really good question.
It is.
So I'm I'm going to give Joey Bosa the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to say yes. With the lead right now, we're about halfway through the year. Nick's only got 3, even though he could probably close that gap in a single game. I will say Joey finishes this year atop the Bosa sack counter over Nick Bosa.
I mean, I sure hope so. I also just don't see a scenario where the 49ers are taking the defending defensive player of the year off of the field unless they
Right.
absolutely have to. So I just think the rush gets ratcheted up with the addition of Chase Young. But it's possible if Joey can get on a roll here, especially in these next few weeks, against some guys that may have some questionable interior or offensive tackles, depending on the Chargers decide to deploy him on a bunch of those twists and stunts that seem to be working so well. It very well could happen.
And I would love for everybody listening, watching to keep us accountable and let us know who wins, because I'm probably going to forget in a couple weeks, but I want to know, because that's a great question.
Yeah.
All right. Let me go to number 3 here. Number 3 is from Adam Glass. I think it's time for you, Jamie, and Jamie's not here, but we can take the brunt of this, to finally start appreciating Alohi Gilman, which is something we had to talk about last night, and we did. He is always around the ball and making plays. Do you agree? Chargers will probably let him walk on free agency, but they should keep him, right? So the question here in this is, and again, Jamie's not here. I'm sure he can answer you on Twitter. Would you, with the season ending today, like we talked about with Kenneth Murray last night, would you re-sign Alohi Gilman?
See, I love a good leading question because it almost prompts me into saying absolutely not. Like just immediately disagreeing with you. I love when people do that. But well, let's start here. I've already admitted to it. Even I don't know if you're a part of the Discord or not, but if you aren't, I've said it. You say what you want about Alohi with regard to his coverage ability, his lack of athleticism. The dude makes plays. And the defense functions a bit differently, especially in the secondary. We're talking about creating turnovers and giving the ball back to the offense. And Alohi does that. So you have to respect it. Ultimately, if you're great at turning the ball over and giving your offense more chances, then you don't have to be the best athlete. He just has a skill that's very valuable and maybe even more so than supreme athleticism. As far as whether the Chargers should keep him, he's feel more like one of those type of Chargers guys. And I don't think they're going to turn a blind eye to the fact that he's performed the way that he has this season when he's been on the field. And again, it's one of those players where it probably won't cost you a ton to keep him around. And if he's a part of rotation and you can allow him to stay around and not, go Adrian Phillips and let him walk away, I think you should, as long as you don't have to overpay. And I don't think they will have to. So I could absolutely see them keeping Alohi around.
Now, would you?
If the price is right. So essentially, it's kind of the same thing as the Kenneth Murray conversation we had last night. The sample size isn't huge, but what we have seen of it is enough to make you want to consider it. And if you don't have to overpay for it, then at worst case, it's quality depth, which the Chargers could always use.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the answer. It was much like Kenneth Murray we talked about last night. I would re-sign Alohi Gilman if it were a short-term deal. We're talking low money, and then also giving me a chance to pull that ripcord after year 1, maybe year 2, if you want to stretch it to 3 years, because Murray and Alohi are definitely playing better than they have throughout their entire career. They have shown that they probably deserve a new contract, but also they haven't shown the consistency to give them a long-term deal and or a big extension. So for me, if you're doing a low end deal, which the safety market in the low end is like a $5 million per year annual salary, because it was like because I was doing the homework on it last year. It was Xavier Woods got like 3-year, $15 million. If you're talking in that range, it feels a little high, but that kind of feels like the market value right above the rookie pay scale. I could make some sense of that deal if you can get out of it pretty easily.
That's one of those deals where you're gonna try to penny pinch based on production. So if he's performing to the level of one of those guys, and that was kind of the baseline, that's where essentially you have to start. They're probably going to go back and look at again production on the field. The fact that he was out, he seems to be a little injury marred, could work against him.
Mhm.
So any way the Chargers can save a penny, they will. And if they can find a way to keep a player around that's produced and not have to pay him, above market value, maybe possibly get him at a little under. Maybe he's even willing to take, one of those deals because he feels like they took a chance on him and he has some level of loyalty to them. I mean, some players do that. Then sure, got to keep him around if he's available in that way.
And I just want to add from Kev_in, all these hypothetical will they resign questions are a little bit skewed since Staley's going to get fired after the year. And that's a
Man,
reasonable reality. So if you're so all these Staley guys won't be Staley guys if the Chargers fire Brandon Staley. That's absolutely true. All right. So let's move on to these Discord questions. I will pull it up for you here, Craig. Whenever you're ready.
yeah. So IDK anything, whether it be Justin, Kellen, or the O line, or the skill position players, I think we can all agree. Wait, I'm sorry. I think we can all agree is the offense makes us sad. What can be done to optimize it for the rest of the season, and what ultimately needs to be done in the offseason to improve coaching, free agents, etc. What do you think, Garrett?
Boy, how much time do we have tonight?
Oof.
Because you're talking about restructuring the roster as it stands, getting new coaching and everything in between. We do that in the off season. So, I think that's tough in terms of big scale, but, does getting Corey Linsley back count? Cause you could start there. That'd be a good
Hmm.
starting point.
That'll
But
optimize.
yeah, but in terms of offensively on the rewatch, it feels to me like they have to start moving this offense in a different direction. And I know they went power running early on. They wanted to try to open it up sideline to sideline at the beginning of the year. But now it feels like they have to start moving into a quick timing offense. It feels like the offensive line just isn't giving Herbert enough time to drop back as much as he is. We had the number earlier in Discord, but I think he was like 25, 26 times he dropped back in that game. But I mean, to me, it feels like they have to get the ball out of Herbert's hands a lot quicker. So getting like Keenan and QJ and the rest of the cast mix in a lot more hitches and arrows and crossers just to get it out of Herbert's hand a little bit faster, start to use that as an extension of the run game. They were kind of doing that going sideline to sideline. We saw that when they were using Darius Davis as that kind of like out screen game, quick screen game to kind of get the ball in his hands and let him get some extra yards. QJ was a yak receiver in college. He was able to do it. They haven't really given him that opportunity. I mean, the handoff on that jet sweep, I mean, that's just not his game. So to me, it feels like the quicker this offense can start moving and the quick timing offense, the more it'll start opening up the run game, start opening up things downfield. It just, while I was rewatching the game today from last night, it just feels like Herbert is doing too many 5-step drops, and they had 3-man rushes getting home on Herbert pretty quickly. They had 4-man rushes getting home really quickly last night. It just does not feel like the way to go right now. And I get it. Like when you have to, you have to, but last night they didn't have to. And it felt like just a quick timing offense where you're eating up clock and you're getting those 3 to 5 yard completions a pop. You start slowly moving the sticks, moving the ball down the field methodically. And so yeah, that's what I think should start happening. I'm not saying change the entire offense, but I think it needs to at least start moving in that direction right now with Will Clapp at center and just how this offensive line is performing. In terms of like the overall like offseason thing, that's a whole list. I would say what it comes down for me in this offseason and probably beyond and has always been is this team needs to get a lot more playmakers, because it just feels like they got a whole lot of role players on this team. And so I think in generalities, team needs to get some more playmakers.
Yeah, so kind of covered all the bases there as far as what I think, but I'll answer the question going from the end back to the beginning. As far as the off-season stuff goes, it's just kind of all predicated on what happens throughout the rest of the season, who's going to be around, because the team could look drastically different at the end of the year just based on how they finish up. Sorry, I don't know what that's about.
Yeah.
But um, that's a hard question to ask or answer. Let's say things stay static and Staley were to stick around. I think there needs to be an off-season emphasis on the thing that would optimize, ironically enough, the first portion of the question, the offense. If we're talking just offensively, you have to utilize your players in the way that best suits them. So get guys that fit your system. And Staley's been doing that on the defensive side of the ball. I think they need to continue that offensively. If Kellen Moore is going to be around for a bit, then you're going to need players that can be a little bit more aggressive vertically. Someone who's an actual threat. I'm sorry, Jalen Guyton. And maybe find a way to use that guy who runs a 4-3 vertically. Apparently, you didn't figure it out in the offseason, and now he's more of a gadget player. Speaking of Darius Davis, we all know that. And you like to use him horizontally, and he definitely proves that if you get him the ball in space in the open field, he can make it happen. You just see what he does as a punt returner. It'd be really nice if you could use him as a vertical threat to potentially open up the middle of the field for guys like QJ and Keenan to make life a little bit easier. But again, it just kind of comes back to making the decisions based on what you have, if we're talking in season, and using them to the best of their ability. Yeah, you already touched on it. As far as Herbert is concerned, with the way the offensive line is performing right now, you got kind of sort of a hobbled Rashawn Slater with the ankle situation. You got Will Clapper at center. So honestly, you're literally missing. What I do? Did I say something crazy
No,
again?
just Will Clapp is Will Clapp.
Yeah,
Rashawn Slater's got a
yeah,
hurt foot.
yeah.
Will
It's just
Clapp.
unfortunately, yeah. Will's just being himself, you know. And so you lost your centerpiece and arguably your best offensive lineman, who's your left tackle. I mean, some people will argue maybe it's sorry, some people may argue that it's Lindsley. I think that you have to do what works now based on how things currently stand. Quick game, get the ball out of Herbert's hands. The fact that they continuously try to stop or drop Herbert back in 5 to 7 step drops with the offensive line playing at the level that they are right now is easy to me. He's got a busted finger already. If you don't want him to make it the rest of the year, just keep doing what you're doing. But if you want things to kind of chug along, it may not be the prettiest. It may kind of limit what you can do offensively in your playbook, but use those plays to set up those shots down the field. Make teams cheat up because they have to be willing to maybe sit on those quick underneath routes. Maybe your edge rushers are going to cheat to get upfield to maybe get their hands in the pass lane to stop those dump off passes into the flats. Make the defense adjust to you and then use what they're doing against them. But you can't come out as if you have all the world beaters on the offense that you can do whatever you want to. You don't have that right now. So stop with the bravado and use the guys to the best of their abilities based on what they're good at. So that's how you optimize the offense. So long story less long, just don't be stupid.
All right, number 2 from D-Stubbs.
Hey, Steps. So, assuming Bosa doesn't retire and Mack is released as expected, what is your expectation for the Bosa Tuli duo going forward? Will this be best pass rushing duo we've seen on this team since Merriman and Phillips? I had like the cursor on my computer in front of Bosa's name, and I pulled Anchorman and I read exactly what I saw. Anyway, what you got?
So let me ask you, Craig. I mean, we're ignoring the Melvin Ingram, Joey Bosa tandem? Are we like going past that too? Because they had 20.5 sacks in a season in 16, 17, 16?
Was that 16?
I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly.
Okay. I think I'm getting my years mixed up. I was thinking the 2018 season. I can't remember what happened.
So anyway, that's major.
Yeah.
Could you because I don't know the Merriman Phillips number off the top of my head.
Yeah, as far as I think we're looking at name recognition. I mean, when we're talking production, Merriman and Phillips, I mean, I think they were highly productive. They played off of each other very, very well.
Mhm.
It was a different era for pass rushers as well. I will say that we probably do overlook the Melvin Ingram Joey partnership there. It was a really short period of time. And also, again, I think we may be disrespecting it a little bit once we look um, into the numbers a bit deeper, but I don't know that off the top of my head. Yeah.
So let me
So,
give you that number. Okay, so let's say
okay.
I'm almost positive it's 20.5. Chat, check me on that. Feel free. I'm pretty sure it's 20 and a half. We know Joey Bosa has, what did I say earlier? 6.5. And we know Tuli has 4. So they've got 10 and a half through halfway point of the year. Could they even do it this season?
Okay. So I feel like we're looking at this in a vacuum because when
Okay.
I
All
think
right.
of edge rushers, I don't just think of them as pass rushers. I think of what
Okay.
they do is setting the edge against the run as well. So overall, if we're talking about Tuli and Bosa being healthy moving forward and Joey Bosa still sticking around because it's another one of those scenarios that we can't really be sure of what's going to happen at the end of the year. This is
Mhm.
probably a safe bet that Khalil Mack won't be back, but Joey's kind of one of those guys that are up in the air.
Oh,
If we're
see, in the
talking those,
second half of the question, he says the best pass rushing duo, not so much just, edge guys.
okay, yeah, point taken. Okay, so I think that, mm, yeah, I mean, I think so. I think there is a really good possibility for that because I don't know that we've seen all that Tuli can be. He's 21 years old, so he's still developing. And I'm thinking
Mhm.
about Merriman and Phillips, and Sean was more of an animal off the edge. Phillips was a little bit more finesse. So I'm looking at Bosa and Tuli and seeing kind of like the compare and contrast between the two. And Tuli actually looks like a much better athlete than we gave him credit for coming out. So I think, as again, he's still a kid. He literally doesn't have his grown man body just yet. His
Mhm.
athleticism is only going to improve. I think there's a strong case for lining those guys up opposite of each other. And yeah, and they have a really great rapport. Like you see Joey and Tuli celebrating together. They do each other's celebration. There seemed to be like a real connection there. So yeah, I think there's a really good chance that they could be the next Merriman and Phillips, if not better than those two.
And I mean, also to be fair on the Tuli, draft analysis, he didn't play all that much, and they kind of were betting on the upside, and they swung right. They took a big swing, and it's paying off. So yes, but also, yeah, I mean, if projected out, they would meet the Ingram Bosa benchmark of that 20 and a half sacks. So that's definitely possible. And yeah, I mean, if we're talking about a rookie in his first year in the NFL, you'd assume that there's going to be some ascension there too. So yeah, I mean, it's probably pretty safe to say that Tuli and Bosa could surpass the Ingram Bosa tandem at one point. So Kevin broke it down. Would you rather have Bosa Ingram or Bosa Tuli in
Uh,
their peak?
See, this is rough because I don't know what Tuli's prime is going to be. Right now, I
Yeah.
like the upside of Tuli.
Mhm.
I was an Ingram fan, but I always felt like he'd disappear for stretches.
Oh yeah.
And Tuli is effective in essentially every way. If he's not getting after the quarterback, he's assisting in getting after the quarterback, and he's also setting the edge, and he's creating tackles for loss. So he's literally doing everything. Melvin was more of an athlete, not necessarily a technician. Tuli has got a nice little toolbox already, and he's only 21 years old. So give me Tuli's upside alongside Prime Bosa. I'll take that over Ingram and Bosa, even though it feels bad to say it, but it is what it is.
No, I mean Ingram at his best was always a finesse rusher, but also he was always frustrating as hell in his even his best season. He would
Hmm.
always get to the quarterback. He would miss tackles. He wasn't very good in the run game. He was not only missing for stretches, but just downright bad in games. And he would pop off, a 3-set game here or there and really show off and everything. And having Bosa and Ingram there in 2016 was fun to watch. But yeah, I would take Tuli over Ingram, even with the half a season. And again, we're projecting because that's just the nature of this question. But
That
yeah,
made me think talking about Melvin Ingram. I don't remember. I think it was a kickoff return in South Carolina. I still remember that dude returning a kickoff for like 80 something yards. It's still ridiculous. Somebody that size with that level of athleticism.
See, I always think of that college highlight where he like decapitated that dude and returned the fumble for a touchdown.
No. I think you're thinking of someone who came after him, who now plays for the Baltimore Ravens. What's Buddy's name? He's bounced around to a few different teams. He was a like top 3 draft pick, but he never really panned out. He played at South Carolina too. Why am I not able to remember this dude's name? This is 40 creeping in again.
South Carolina pass rusher?
Yeah.
And he plays for the Ravens right now?
Yes.
All right, hold on.
That's funny. See, now I'm gonna have to look too.
Yeah.
Memory's failing me.
Hold on.
But I know exactly what player you're talking about. You're just talking about a different player.
Jadeveon
Clowney.
Was that Clowney? Oh,
yeah,
good job, Ivan.
Clowney.
Thanks in the chat. Is that who I'm thinking of?
See, yeah, thanks. Jadeveon Clowney. Yeah, I think it was at Michigan that they were playing. I don't remember the team, but yeah, he comes off. He was either off of the edge or he runs a stunt or something. I can't remember what the play was, and he destroys the running back. Helmet comes off, I believe, picks the ball up and returns it. Yeah, that was like his. That was like his defining play. It's probably what got him drafted as high as he was.
Man,
when you go back and look, you'll see it was fun.
All right. Okay. All right. Moving on, because now I'm gonna like go down the wormhole of Melvin Ingram college highlights.
Yeah.
All right. Last one here for Discord.
Cool. So yeah, let me see. Oh, screen froze.
You want me to read it for you?
No, I got you. I got it.
Right.
How much do you believe in the recent defensive performances? Obviously, Chicago and the New York Giants aren't good offenses. Aren't good offenses, but they still looked worse versus the Chargers than in other games. Detroit and Baltimore will be the big tests, but the rest of the schedule coming up includes Green Bay, New England, Denver, and Las Vegas. Can they keep it up?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, exactly. Detroit and Baltimore are going to be a huge test. This weekend's going to be, we talked about last night. This is going to be a huge test. They were bottom 5 just a couple weeks ago, and they moved a little bit over the last 2 performances. But I feel like the answer, if I need to answer now, because I'd like to see them play a good team like Detroit to see if they're, back or whatever. But I will tell you that they've improved. Because like the question stated, I mean, the Jets and Bears have looked pretty good against some good teams, and the Chargers made them look really, really bad. So while the Bears and Jets aren't a good offense, still, they made them look like a bad offense, while some good teams made them look good. So I don't want to say they're back. I will say that they've improved. I'm not even ready to say they're good or even average yet, but I will say that it seems to me through the last 2 games that there's been some improvement defensively.
I believe overall there's been market improvement when you kind of look at the different phases of the defense. When you're talking about the run game, they're a top 5 run defense now. When you take into consideration where they're coming from last season, being near bottom of the barrel, that's a huge deal. They've come in and played really well against some of the league's best running backs. I fully expected Breece Hall to bust at least one really big play last night, because that's kind of what Breece does. Yep. He got absolutely nothing in the running game. So
his 2 big runs were called back.
Yeah. So unfortunately for him, but it just it looks to me like they're a team that's playing more physical in the trenches on the defensive line, which is also helping them on the back end with regards to pass defense. Because if you're getting pressure on the quarterback, then DBs don't have to defend as long, and also by helping them get the ball out quicker, the quarterbacks, by getting that pressure, the DBs are able to react against the receivers much better. So that's what you saw even last night. Guys were jarring balls loose because they were getting there on time. Sometimes the ball was coming out a little bit early. Wilson was off, it doesn't take a whole lot to have Wilson be off, but I don't want to take anything away from the defense, but ultimately up front on the defensive line, they're making everything look better overall. And you have to give them kudos for that. Whether or not they're a good defense right now, I will say that they're better. And just like Garrett, I think I've kind of mentioned this also. I have to see what happens against Detroit because one of the things that I'm curious to see is what they look like against a team that has uh, a really athletic running back and a solid tight end, in addition to an offensive weapon on the outside. Detroit has all three. The offensive line is actually pretty decent as well. So Jared Goff is going to get some decent protection, and he's not played poorly this season whatsoever either. He's not someone you have to worry about getting out on the run. So he'll mostly be stationary, but they do a pretty, I think they do a pretty fair job at protecting him. But Detroit's got a bunch of guys that can play on the offensive side of the ball. So you're not playing against the Jets and Zach Wilson. You're going to have a competent quarterback, and he has weapons around him that he can get the ball to that can make things very, very difficult for you. Baltimore terrifies me because Lamar Jackson is Lamar Jackson, and same thing. They've got weapons, including one that I wanted them to draft. I'm sorry, the Chargers to draft this season, but I digress. I will not go back there again. But yeah, these two coming up are going to be, well, those two in particular are going to be huge tests. But get back to me after the game next week, and I can give you a little bit more info about how I feel about the defense overall. But I'm encouraged by what I've seen just in these last two games because even against the Jets, I'm pretty sure they held them below their season average in pretty much every statistic offensively. So Garrett mentioned it. There were quote unquote good teams that the Jets played really well against and gave a hard time even on the offensive side of the ball. So you can't take that lightly.
The Jets beat the Eagles for sure. Did they beat the Bills too?
I think they did beat the Bills, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, those are good
Yes,
teams.
I mean, the Bills are a weird team because they
Yeah.
don't have a ton of offensive weapons, really. They don't. Josh Allen he can move around. He's got a big arm. He's got, one primary great wide receiver and a couple of other competent pieces, but he really makes that offense go. But I mean, when we're talking about the Eagles, though, you know everything the Eagles have on the
Yeah.
offensive side of the ball. So yeah, they're no joke. And the Jets performed pretty well against everyone that they, especially against those teams that they beat. Not only on the defensive side of the ball, but they were able to do enough on offense to pull out those wins. So you cannot overlook that.
Yeah. There's a lot of it feels like there's a lot of markers throughout the NFL season. Like the Dolphins haven't beat a team with a winning record yet. The
In over
Chargers,
a year, by the way.
yeah,
Just want to put that out there again.
yeah, in a while, yeah, totally. Chargers did that last night on Monday, but then you're like, well, they've played Bajent, and then they're playing Zach Wilson. Can they actually beat a good team? They beat up on some bad teams. Now here we go. They're playing Detroit, and we're going to see another marker.
Same thing we just said, though. The Bills and Eagles played Zach Wilson also, and the Chiefs almost lost to him as well. So
yeah,
you want to ignore that? Be my guest, but I'm into I'm into the facts. That's what I care about.
Yep. All right. So let's get this question in from Kevin because he said, listen, if you don't get your question in on Twitter or whatever, feel free to put it in the chat because we will answer them. Kevin, I wasn't able to get my question in. All right, no worries. Am I a quote unquote doomer in saying let's pump the brakes and see how we play against Detroit? Kind of what we were just saying.
Nope. You're echoing my sentiments. Exactly. Even after last night, I was very, again, excited and encouraged by what I saw. But the game that I had circled was this one because I knew that there was a fair chance the Chargers could beat the Jets. If they played complementary football, I thought, their chances were pretty high. This is going to be the test because they have to play a balanced team who's also physical. So they showed me that they can be physical last night. Now show me that you can do it on both sides of the ball against a team that's willing to come out and smack you in the mouth, but can also put up points on you as well. So it's going to be an adventure this week. But this will tell the tale about where the team actually stands. So no, you're not a doomer. You need a larger sample size, which is reasonable. So good on you for being a rational human being.
Yep. Good job being objective and looking at what this team really could be. And yeah, I think without just blindly saying, hey, we're back, Chargers are back, you want them to beat a good team. And that's what we're talking about. It's one of those markers, man. They they took care of business the last 2 weeks, and they did it handily, and we didn't have to worry for 2 weeks straight. I hope we don't have to again, because these games are so much fun.
Yeah.
And they just beat up on teams, and you don't have to really worry about it, and it's not down the last field goal of the game again, and whether Dicker is going to make it or not, or if Herbert can put another game-winning drive together. The fact that they can just put 2 performances together where they just beat the stuffing out of 2 teams, it's great all the way around.
No, seriously, people really, really relish that, by the way, because we know how far and few in between these scenarios happen, and we've had it in back-to-back weeks.
Yeah.
I know that we all want a winning team, but take your small victories where you can, and be appreciative of the fact that you don't have to go visit the ER or maybe potentially have a defibrillator on hand for 2 weeks straight. You had a chance to enjoy football and not have near cardiac arrest. Don't take that for granted.
No, not at all. Because those first couple weeks, we were heading down that road for sure. All right, next question is not from a name I'm gonna say out loud. How you were even able to get this onto YouTube is beyond me. The fact that you're able, I'm uncomfortable having this up on the screen, my guy, and I can't believe you would have this as your username. And even this would be my lurker YouTube account. This would be my shadow account. I would no way, shape, or form use this in public, in a public forum with people around. And now you're asking questions, and this is unbelievable. All I saw was the question. I went to go read his name. It all hit. Let's just read the question, which is, how good does it feel to not have to worry about special teams for once? Feels great, right?
Yeah. Sorry.
Well, not going to address your name.
Sir or ma'am.
Yeah.
Or person.
By the way, the picture you're painting with this username, just something else, man.
Yeah. See, man, y'all are playing up on my sophomore sense of humor. I'm not that much of an adult. My age says that I am. The fact that I have kids and I'm married says that I should be, but I'm very immature still. So things like that, you almost broke me just now. By the way, I'm holding it together. But anyway, yeah. As far as special teams are concerned, I'm sorry. What was the question again?
How good does it feel to not have to worry about special teams?
Amazing, amazing. We've said it now for what, 2 years, that it's actually been a strong suit of the team. We've gone so many years where we've had our hearts broken by doinks or giving up big returns. It's just an amazing situation to be able to feel comfortable in not only your coverage teams, but your kicker, and having what could turn out to be an elite returner. So you see things that happened like last night, and that special teams came in huge. Having 7 free points without your offense having to step on the field because they were struggling to move the ball anyway. You can't ask for more in games like that. You almost had to have that happen in order for the Chargers to be successful, because it pretty much set the tone. And when you're playing some of these, I mean, there aren't a bunch of defenses in the NFL like the Jets. I mean, the Ravens are playing kind of that style of defense right now too. But if you can't get points on the board, kind of traditionally with your offense, you have to be able to manufacture them in other ways. So if you get them in a return game and you got a sure-footed kicker that can get you 3 points, then you can't ask for much more than that.
Yeah, I mean, Darius Davis opened up the game last night. Offenses weren't able to move the ball on the Jets much at all, and Chargers had trouble moving the ball as well. But once they put that touchdown up on special teams, not even have to mess with that stout defense. I mean, it put the game away. They only scored 6 points. That's all they really needed all night. But the fact that he did that, it opened up the game. It made Zach Wilson have to throw a little bit more. It gave Justin Herbert, the offense, a little bit more relaxation, a little bit to start off, to have a lead that they can pad and slowly move down the field and try to score when they can. But it's awesome. The punter still sucks, but that'll be something we can talk about later. But I'm very excited to have a very good returner, young returner, and a kicker that's just automatic.
Yeah.
And I'm also now wondering about that name, that there's numbers after it. Did somebody already have that username and they had to put numbers after it? Like, shit. Man, it's already taken. I'm just going to put the year I was born at the end, like everybody else does when your username's taken that you
But
wanted.
wait, what were the last 2 digits of that number?
89. Probably the year they
Okay.
were born.
Okay, see, I read that wrong. I think, you know what? No, it was my brain doing the childish thing again.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
didn't read 89. A
It
different number
fell.
came to
Yeah,
mind.
it
Yeah,
filled in.
sorry about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
No, but regardless, the normal name was taken. You couldn't just settle on the normal name. All right, let's move on, which I think was a nice segue. Thank you for that. Into our bad tweets. So let's start off here, and let's read this one off. So this is a retweet, but let's start from inside out. Robert Griffin III tweets, "Watch a Caleb Williams sobbing with his family after losing the game will break your heart. This young man pours his heart out for his team every time he plays. Any NFL team would be lucky to have him as their QB, and this emotion shows how much this game means to him." Now, somebody retweets it, and we did here, take out the username for anonymity. This is somebody who, and it's usually because we don't want Charger fans' feelings hurt to be the butt of the joke. But also, if you had to look this up, I'm sure you might have seen it. It's a dude who used to be a coach on Last Chance U. You guys can fill in the blank on who that might be. And he says, "How about play?" This is the response to RG3's tweet. "How about you play better and man up, you soft weirdo asshat wearing excuse making clown?" The first sentence already a train wreck. "Quit making excuses for these soft ass kids and man up. I wouldn't draft his nail polish wearing ass if he was the last QB available." Now, there's a lot going on here. First of all, this guy's a grade A asshole, and we know that. So that's not surprising. Can't put a sentence together. Also not surprising. Insecure. Also not surprising. But the last quarterback available, you're not taking Caleb Williams, a guy who, quite honestly, is one of the best QB prospects we've seen in a very, very, very long time. A guy who is as close to Mahomes-esque coming out of a college as we've maybe seen. He has all the intangibles. He's team's losing. His defense sucks. The kid shows some emotion with his family, and this is the tweet he decides to send off.
Okay, so first of all,
Okay.
yes, extremely insensitive, and apparently, I understand what happens when people tweet stuff like this. They're just looking for folks to agree. So I'm sure he was probably refreshing his timeline just to see how many likes he got, because there are many of these types of folks out there in Twitter land. With regard to Caleb Williams, you're lying. You absolutely would take a Caleb Williams. You know how I know you would? Because there are teams that are lining up. They're tanking their season for an opportunity to draft a Caleb Williams. So either, I mean, I'm sorry, you were coach at Last Chance U, or for the show Last Chance U. So
he got fired because his team sucked.
Yeah, well, it just goes to show where your level of expertise lies, and also maybe why you ended up in the position that you were in. Maybe, kind of, sort of. I'm sure takes like these didn't help your cause, but I will say this: when you look at a guy like Caleb Williams, like, did I like the optics of this? No, I didn't love it, but for different reasons. But let's be for real here. This guy almost has to score nearly every time he touches the ball because his defense is horrendous. Imagine putting that type of effort out every play offensively and then hitting the bench for about 30 seconds and having to come right back on the field and do it again over and over and over and over
It's like
again.
the opposite Jets.
Yeah, well, there you go. So essentially, yeah, inverted Jets. It's wild that, you think that someone wouldn't be emotional after having to do this every single week. So dude probably feels a little broken, and he let it out. And I mean, he let it out with the people that he feels most comfortable doing it with. I mean, it was done publicly, you know, he couldn't contain himself. It is what it is. But be a human about it. You're criticizing this guy for showing emotion on the football field. He's a player who puts his all into the game, and he's tired of losing. And I mean, he's one of the best to do it. Got people out there right now calling him one of the best, if not the best, quarterback prospect they've seen in college in the last 20 or so years. So whatever, dude. I'm sure you're somewhere at home, probably eating some Reese's cups and trolling on Twitter right now as we speak.
I will just I've seen this guy in person before. I was downtown in a downtown area, and he was there, and people were like, "Hey, are you the coach?" Somebody recognized him, and he was always smoking cigars in that show. So of course he was smoking a cigar, almost like, "Hey, like look at me. This is
It's a
me."
trademark.
Yeah, because he was like outside in the downtown area where like people are clubbing and stuff, and he's smoking a cigar, which is like way out of place, like looking for attention almost feeling. And the dude wanted money for these kids to take a picture with him. And kids, I mean like 13, 14-year-olds. We're talking like high school age kids. And he's like, hey, can we get a selfie? And he's like, man, it's gonna cost you, kid. And he wanted like money for the kid to take a picture with him.
Times are hard, man.
Real rough,
It
man.
is, yeah. I mean, is that weird, by the way? Am I the only person who doesn't see people outside in public smoking cigars? Is that a thing?
No, people don't do that.
Okay, I just
No,
curious because
nobody
I've
does
never
that.
actually seen it. Never, really,
Nah,
I've never
man.
seen it.
Go to a cigar
Okay.
lounge, smoke in your backyard, by the pool. I mean, there's plenty of places to do it. Outside in like a downtown area, especially, that's just, I mean, that's
Yeah.
stupid. He was looking for attention, really. And the fact
Yeah.
that he was charging for pictures was rough.
And
But hey, man,
RG3 is weird, right? Okay.
for what? What's weird?
I said, and he called RG3 weird.
Oh, I know. No, he's calling Caleb Williams
It's
weird.
Caleb being called weird. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoever.
All right. Yeah, whoever. All right, next up. This is from a Charger fan. When Staley was having issues, this was right before the game on Monday. A few head coaching candidates the Chargers should be all over. Keep Kellen Moore as offensive coordinator, but all these guys are no-nonsense leaders of men in no order. Of course, it's the hashtag bolt up. Here's the list. Jim Harbaugh, Steve Spagnuolo, Brian Flores, Mike Vrabel, Rex Ryan, Dan Quinn. Now, we've talked about Jim Harbaugh and probably could have stopped the list there. I wouldn't mind Mike Vrabel, but there's some names on this list. He's definitely doesn't remember Spagnuolo's head coaching tenure for sure. Still trying to make Rex Ryan a thing for some reason. Forgot how bad Dan Quinn was as a head coach. Brian Flores was bad as a head coach too, but this is wild.
It's the tough guy list. It's the tough guy list. Yeah. So he completely threw resume out of the window.
Oh, okay.
It's
right.
the person who, I mean, essentially, yes, you've got some names on there with guys with some background, some pedigree, particularly the very first name. That I understand. But he's thinking about people who may come off a bit, they're boisterous. They put off that bravado, that image that Chargers coaches don't have, and they think that somehow that translates into a winning culture. Not necessarily. Some of these dudes just kind of have a facade. It's not who they really are. But also, I mean, you can go talk to some of the players about a few of the names on this list, and they will laugh in your face. And some of them won't make a secret about it. Many of them have come out publicly and already expressed their thoughts. But the Rex Ryan one always cracks me up anytime I see that on any list. Like, dude, it is not 2003. You gotta stop.
They do not know what they're talking about.
No.
This is ridiculous. And obviously it's a matter of opinion, but I mean, we're talking about guys that had head coaching jobs, failed. I mean, Rex Ryan has been the laughingstock of the NFL for a long time. I mean, people don't even respect his opinion as an analyst right now. And he comes from a lineage of the Ryan family and that whole business. He had a whole thing going and nobody cares. I mean, he tries to fire off hot takes like he's Skip Bayless and nobody cares. Nobody cares. And you want him as a head coach. That's wild.
Might as well add Anthony Lynn back to this list, man.
What?
So you might as well add Anthony Lynn back to this list. Right at the bottom. Put
Here's
Anthony
it.
Lynn down there.
Uh-huh.
Leader of men, no nonsense guy. That's what we're doing.
Tough guy. Real tough guys here. Lot of bad coaches on this list.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really bad head coaches. All right, last one here. Now, this one I felt pretty funny about. I blanked some bad words and all that, but somebody posted, which is a Dolphins fan.
I know who this is, by the way.
I'm sure you do. Somebody was tweeting at this Dolphin fan about when Tua lost and the Dolphins lost against the Chiefs in Germany, and he responded by saying, "F off, P word. Your quarterback's getting put in a coma tomorrow." And then a Charger fan wrote back, "Hey," and then used his @ that I blanked out here. "This you?" And then tags Elon Musk, the FBI, and the NIMH. This this is great comedy that I hope was on purpose.
I respect this because not only was he trying to get you canceled, he's trying to get you put in the feds, son. Trying to get you locked up. And you know what? I love Justin Herbert too, so I'm right there with him. Get this clown out of here. Let's get you behind bars immediately. You are a menace to society, and you need to be locked away from all women and children. As a matter of fact, you might be a threat to yourself. I personally support this message, and I hope that Elon, if you're out there and you're listening, do your job. Make this happen, man. Get this clown out of here. We don't need him around. We don't need him around.
He said, "Elon, cancel his account. FBI, put him behind bars, and then also get him in some mental health institution because this guy needs help.
Extradite
He is a menace.
Send him to another country. I don't know, something. Let him be someone else's problem. But I'm down with this, man. This is the type I can get behind this. This is what I want to support on Twitter. These type of activities. This makes all the sense in the world to me. But man, I don't know. The funny part about it is, and it's not so funny. It's really me being a little bit shady and also petty, but that's what I do. It's funny that you wanted Herbert put in a coma when you have a quarterback that has an issue. Never mind. It's just mean. I don't want to do it.
Don't finish that.
He doesn't deserve that. He doesn't deserve that. It's idiots like this that make me go there, because I have no problem with your quarterback. Great guy. Looks like a wonderful human being. But y'all keep putting him in these situations where he has to take bullets for your stupidity. But anyway, FBI, got him.
Get on this.
We got him.
I'm trying to, and in my mind, like the backstory of like, man, this guy sucks. I'm serious. Like, this guy is a menace, and I need to get him like off the streets. Like, does he think he's like actually doing his service by reporting this account on Twitter to the FBI?
He's doing his civic duty, man. I appreciate this. I thought of it when I saw it. I was just kind of like, I laughed at it and like, man, I'm not doing my job as an American. Why did I not? Why did I not think of this? Brilliant. Salute to you, my man.
That's a great one. This wasn't so bad. Well, I mean, maybe the first one was a bad tweet, but this more just made me laugh my ass off today, and I just had to share on this show. So, hey, thanks for joining us. That does it for Roundtable. Make sure to follow Jamie. He's at lightning_round. Craig is at top_FLYT3. I'm at Garrett Sisti. We will see you next time. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Make sure you're subscribed everywhere, and we will see you next time.
Salute.